ब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वसिष्ठान्ते वसद्ऋषिगणैः आवृतब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वटविटपिसमीपे भूमिभागे निषन्नं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि। चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्नसंशया निधये सर्वविद्यानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं निर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं न जान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि नायया बहिर्भूत् भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकम् असत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात्करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाच्छिद्रघटोदरस्थितमः दीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभाति एतत् समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियानपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्दजडोपमास्त्वमिति भ्रान्तावृतं वादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमः व्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये राहुग्रस्तदिवाङ्करेन्दुसदृशो मायासमाच्छादनात् सन्मात्रः करणोपसंहरणतो यो भूत् सुषुप्तः पुमान् प्रागस्वाप्स्वमिति प्रबोधसमये यप्रत्यभिज्ञायते तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Balyadishu api jagradadishu tatha sarvasvavasthasvapi vyavrittasvanuvartamanamaham ityantaspurantam sada swatmanam prakatikaroti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namahitam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Vishvam pashyati karyakaranataya swaswami sambandhataha shishyacharya tathaiva pitra putratyatmana bhedataha swapne jagrati vaya esha purusho maya paribhramitaha tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namahitam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Bhurambhamsya nalo nilo ambarmaharnartho himam shuvpuman ityabhati characharatmakamidam yasyaiva murtyashtakam nanyat kinchina vidyate vimrishatam yasmat parasmat vibhoho tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namahitam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Sarvatmatvamiti sprutikritamidam yasmadamushminstave tenasya shravanatadattamananat dhyanatcha sankirtana sarvatmatvamahavibhuti sahitam Syadishwaratvam swataha siddhyet punarashtada parinatam chaishwaryamavyahatam. So we had taken up the verse number 10. And I think we pretty much covered it with the exception of the second part of the verse, which is Sarvatmatva Mahavibhuti Sahitam Syad Ishwaratvam Swataha Siddhye Tat Punarashtadha Parinatam Chaishwaryam Avyahatam. So here there is in fact there is a part of Vedanta which accepts the fact that even while you are living, you can have some extraordinary siddhis. If you really want it, you could have it. And you don't need a full Atma Jnanam for that. You just need some sadhana, Vaidika sadhana. And if you keep doing it, then it's possible that you can develop these extraordinary powers. One of the very common powers is to slow your breathing down to a point where you can live underground for a while. And so you can extend your age. All those kinds of things are possible. And what this verse points out is that what you do in gaining these siddhis from your extreme efforts, you gain something. What can you gain? You can gain the fact that you can demonstrate some extraordinary powers for the common person. And they all kind of say, wow, this person is really something amazing. So you get some adulation, you get some happiness out of that. So you feel good about it. So fine, we understand that. But in terms of the Atma Jnanam, so the Sarvatmatvam Aishwaryam, this is what is called Sarvatmatvam Mahavibhuti Sahitam Aishwaryam, Ishwaram, the third line. So you see, it means that the kind of results that you get from knowledge of the fact that really all these siddhis and karma phalas and so on are a lower level of reality than the one that you are able to get. It's kind of like you're having a very good dream. A good dream is kind of nice, but it doesn't compare with your waking up. There's no comparison. So here it is said that if you are very anxious to find some siddhis before you did Atma Jnanam, then what will happen is that through the Atma Jnanam, your efforts will be easily rewarded. No big deal. So whether you are watching a good dream and a bad dream, it doesn't really matter. It's still a dream. So there is not much of a emphasis of this in our teaching also. It was hardly ever mentioned about these siddhis and so on and so forth. In fact, it was looked down upon. That don't go in for that. Don't go in for any kind of attaining of some extraordinary powers that may be attractive to you. To the gentle, to the normal mind, it may be attractive to you. That look, I can do so much, I can do this, and so on and so forth. In fact, Swami Buddhayananda used to say this. He says, he said, I pray for my students not to gain popularity before they understand the whole thing very properly. Because it is very possible and it is very easy to speak well and become popular. And you find so many people are able to feel good that I've got so many disciplines, I've got disciples, I've got thousands of people and this, that or the other. But if you don't know the subject matter very thoroughly, it is just hollow. And Swamiji used to say that, I remember that early on. He says, I really tell my students and I pray for them that may their knowledge hasten them to understand before they become popular. And then once they become a complete understanding, then whether the popularity comes or not, it doesn't matter. So the same thing here. So therefore, there is not much emphasis given on these siddhis, and therefore, even though Sureshwaracharya ji actually makes it a point to understand what is the Ashtadha Parinatam Chaishwaryam. And there is a description. If you are really interested, you can do that. You can go through these Manasa Ullasa verses and go through what are the different, they say that if you are at Siddhi number 1, at first level you will do this. Siddhi number 2, you'll do this. Siddhi number like that, you can get that. If you're curious, you can look into that. But I am not going to, there's no point in it. We were never taught to do this. And so I will also not go over that. And so with that, I think I will wrap up the detailed description of the verses and start a revision of all the verses, which is really what it really should be done. And so let us do that. So we will start with a revision of the whole text, DakshinaMurthi Stotram. So I think that we will do maybe 3.5, 4 today, and hopefully we'll do the rest, even one more class. And there are some plans afoot that I'll tell you about that may hasten our ability to finish this. So we will see how long we can do this, but I think personally at a minimum we will have 2 classes including today, and so that should be enough to give you a good bird's eye view of the revision of the text. So with that, let us start with this revision. So at the very outset, you should know that this is not an ordinary text. It is what would be called a seminal text. Seminal text means that has, I actually looked up the word, I thought about the word seminal to use it on my own. But then I said, let me look up the dictionary, the meaning of the dictionary in seminal, which I did. And what seminal says is that one that has a profound effect for a long time is the word seminal. So I think it's very appropriate. This text is so well received, so well considered, not received, but so well considered that in all of our serious studies by sannyasis and senior students and so on, especially when the study of Brahma Sutras is done, which is the apex of the teaching of Vedanta, and takes at the very end, after you have qualified yourself in the study of the Bhagavad Gita and at least 10 Upanishads, lot of Prakarana Granthas, so you have a good body of material that you have poured into your head, then you should be studying Brahma Sutras. And so that is the apex of the learning of the Vedanta. And before you study Brahma Sutras, this text is recited. I have heard that myself, and this is how that is considered to be. So this is not an ordinary text by any means. It is Swami Maheshananji makes 2 points which I will revise. I have told you this in the beginning, but since it's a revision, then I will bring it up again. He said this is an extraordinary text because it combines both jnanam and bhakti. So usually you will have texts that really emphasize knowledge, and other texts like Narada Bhakti Sutras and so on and so forth that emphasize prayers and bhakti. But here, through the namaskar to Ishvara, through Shiva, the bhakti is also incorporated along with the jnanam. And then he said that the bhakti is a very interesting one. It's a praise. It's a praise. Stotram means stuti. Stuti means a praise. Like you are telling someone, my gosh, you are so wonderful. I've heard so much about you. You praise someone. So he says this is a very funny praise because when you praise someone, you always praise with respect to something who that person should aspire to and reminds you of it. And say you are, when you walk into the room, it's like the sun has arisen. This is a praise. So you are likening that person to the brightness of the sun. Or you can tell a young kid who is doing some extraordinary things, standing on his two hands and doing Sirsharsana or something, he'll say, my gosh, you are like a lion. You are so brave, you can do anything. Praise. So in order to do praise, you have to find something which is even more praiseworthy than what you are praising. Now, if you're going to praise Ishvara, what kind of a praise can you do? You can't say, Ishvara, you are like Ishvara. It'll be silly. So he says, the praise is in the form of, now I understand how great you are. Every verse you means, my goodness, I didn't realize you were like this. So the praise is not as a comparison to something else, but in raising the qualifications of the student itself in being saying, now I get it. I didn't quite understand how great you were. This was a part of the praise. So going back to the text and so on, oftentimes these great texts are ascribed to Adi Shankara. And half the time it is like a praise. He may not even have written there. He was only alive for 30 few years. And so he couldn't have written everything. But this one is authentically ascribed to Adi Shankara. How? Because one of his 4 disciples, Sureshwaracharya, has written a commentary on it. And I said that it is for my Guru Adi Shankara, and in the form of the Manasa Ullasa that we have partially studied. And we kind of gave up because it is in great detail. So that shows that it is really ascribed to Adi Shankara. So it has some very beautiful qualities. Probably one that we should all appreciate is that after studying Vedanta for a while, it is a good way for us to capture the essence of Vedanta in 10 verses that we can remember. Like in Taittiriya Upanishad, when you chant Taittiriya like we did in the Mahashivaratri at the Sanatana Dharma Kendra, it takes half hour. Here when we chant this, it is done in 5 minutes. And of course it is more concentrated. But this is an invitation to each one of us to capture the broad implications of Vedanta that he has given. Adi Shankara has chosen, like I did last time, that there's only 10 verses, and he's going to say, what should I say in these 10 verses that represents the enormity of Vedanta? It is there in 10 verses, and it's for us to really to take advantage of that by being able to be familiar with it and to recite it. So my recommendation to you will be, at some point in time, you don't have to do it now, later on in your life, please recite it often enough that you can do it by heart. So this is the first thing that I would recommend that you do. So start from the very beginning. Om Vishwam Darpana Dishyamana Nagari. It might take a little while. You may have to look at your notes for a while, but it will be wonderful for you to be able to recite it by heart. This is number 1. Then step number 2 is that as you recite each verse, you should be able to see what the meaning of the verse is in words. It may not give you a complete vision yet. That will come later. But the essence of the verse, you should be able to tell. And one thing that you may need to do is to rearrange the words in a prose format, like I think we have done for you in almost all the verses. So you may have to do that. But as you recite the verse, you should be able to see the sentence meaning. And much of that is a repetition. Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri DakshinaMurthi. So there's really only 3 lines. And you should be able to extract the meaning of these verses that you have now learned by heart. So that's number 2. Then beyond that, it should create and so interestingly enough, each of the verses has something to add to the overall vision. Otherwise he wouldn't do it. There's something that is being said. There's no repetition, except for in verse number 7, there is an avritti. There is a little bit of a deliberate collection of what has been said before. But other than that, these are unique verses. So the next step that you should do is to understand the uniqueness of each verse, which we will do today. So in the summary, we will point out some of the key features of each of the verses. And then once you do that, then you can put together the individual visions of each of the verse to come up with the overall vision. This is the process that I think you should follow. And fortunate that we have all together to do this. Now you have it under your belt, and you can take your time in your life to be able to take advantage of this in a structured manner. Okay, so that's another thing. So now, so as I said here, that it is recommended to capture the essence of the self-knowledge by first taking it in. Swami Paramarthananda had said it so well, beautifully well. He said, when we eat food, we don't really gain the benefit of the food unless we can absorb it in our body. And it takes a while. You enjoy the food and you have now fulfilled the hunger. That one which is done. And but now Ishvara's work starts. Your work is done. Because you hopefully you did a good job of eating something nutritious, not junk food. But once you do that, then your job is done. Now the absorption is started by Ishvara's efforts, and he helps you. He helps you by Jatara Agni, by he cooks it again. Whether you cooked it or not, he doesn't trust you. Doesn't trust you. Especially this modern thinking that we should now eat uncooked food. The silliest thing ever. And so you may have cooked it, not cooked it, overcooked it, whatever, but he's got his own method of giving you the absorption. And really speaking, your benefit will not come until it has been fully digested. All the things have been put together at the various points of your body, and now that meal is finished, that now you go to the next one. And so this is what it is. So really, our job, which is now pointed out very well in the last verse that we just did. So he says, in the verse number 10, as we just did, Sarvat matvam iti sphuti kritamidam yasmad amushmin stave. Amush means meaning this stotram. Stava means stotram. In this stotram, this sarvat matvam iti sphuti kritam means that you should appreciate that you are not at any one place. You are at all places at all times. This is what is called sarvatmatvam. And this has been explained so well, sputikritam. It's very simply, you should not appreciate yourself to be just a car space. A car space is moving around. Yeah, it's going to, I'm in Milpitas, now I'm going to San Jose. But you are the very space itself that doesn't move. So it's a question of re-identifying yourself to a larger self. This is the meaning of sarvat matvam iti sputi kritam. So he says that's been already explained to you. And you should understand it by now. You should grasp it. You cannot say, how? I don't get it. That means you go back to the first verse again. So this has been explained to you. So he says that because this has been explained to you, because it should be clear to you, yasmat means because. Sarvat matvam iti sputi kritam idam yasmat amushmin stave. Tena. Tena means, kena means by what? By the fact that it has been sputi kritam. Asya means this amushmin stave. From that, now the absorption should be started. Shravanat tadathamananat dhyanat sankirtanat cha. Then what will happen is that the sarvatmatvam, this is the interesting thing to see, we did this last week also, that what will happen once you do the absorption. You know, when we eat the food, when you're saying that now I had a very nutritious meal and it's now good to really sustain your whole body. So wonderful. Now you get all the vitamins and proteins and carbohydrates and lots of fat. All of that is there in your system. And so what is the absorption? What is the result of the absorption? The result of the absorption is that from the sarvatmatvam you get ishwaratvam aishwaryam. So in very simple terms, just to, and I won't spend much, we already did this last week, in very simple terms, you are not just saying I am a sakshi. You don't just understand I am a sakshi. So when you understand I am a sakshi, sakshi is a sarvatma. It is all over. Sakshitvam. I am the witness, I am the witness. It's very obvious that even if the car space is in Milpitas, then you are aware of that fact. That awareness is the same as the fact that when you are in San Jose, you are aware, now I'm in San Jose. So the witness remains the same. But we have not understood the implication of the sakshitva. When the implication of the sakshitvam is understood, then ishwaratvasya aishwaryam sarvatmatvam will be appreciated, which is at the third line. Sarvatmatvam, of course it is, here it says, mahavibhuti sahitam ishwaratvam swataha, automatically siddhyet, then your absorption will be complete. So with that background, you can now revise the structure of the 10 verses. That the first 3 verses, not exclusively, this is not as though we are not going to talk about mananam until the first 3 verses are over. It's not that. But the primary emphasis of the first 3 verses is Shravanam. Shravanam. Then the primary emphasis of the verses number 4 to 6 is Mananam, Artha Mananam. And the primary emphasis of verses 7 to 9 is Sadhana. Sadhana. So Sadhana means really the effectiveness of the absorption, right? So as you know, there are three main filters, if you may, 3 main quizzes, exams that I should subject any new idea to. 3 different segments. So one is what is called Shruti, means what is the wisdom saying about this? What does the Vedas say? What is the authoritative word on this subject is called Shruti. And then to bring that Shruti under your analysis and your sense of logic is called Yukti. So then you have to bring it to Yukti, and that is so Shravanam is the job of the Shruti, Mananam is the job of Yukti. So we have three different filters, three different quizzes. One is Shruti, Yukti, and the third one is Anubhava. Anubhava means that it should really become very real to you. And so you cannot go to number 3 straight away. You first have to understand what the Shruti is saying. Then you have to subject it to your questions of your mind and make sure that it is satisfying your yukti. And despite that, nothing is going to happen to you. You'll just soften up. You just soften up things. At the very most, what will happen is that just like, if you have some dal, we have a dal in Punjab called maa ki dal, which is black urad, completely covered. That takes forever to cook. So it is recommended that you simply put it in water for a while. Soak it in water overnight. And then you can reduce the cooking time from 2 hours to 1 hour. But it still takes a long time. So the Shravanam and Mananam is really like putting some water into it. But really speaking, cooking is when you have Anubhava. When you have, and that is done through sadhana. You have to, Swami Maheshananji says, he says that so many people complain, my God, and Swami Tattvavidananda was also saying the same thing. You remember that in his own way. He was saying that knowledge is not the study of books. Oh, how many books I've studied, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. It is to really convert that into a knowledge that you can own. And so Swami Maheshananji also says that really it is not just a matter of, he says a lot of people complain that I've been studying Vedanta but nothing has happened to me. He says that now you should convert that into what is called ekagrata. He uses that word. Different Swamis have some favorite words, but his favorite word is ekagrata. Ekagrata means that a single pointed emphasis. You just hold the coattails of Ishvara and said, I'm not moving from here until I get this. Okay, I don't understand why that is not the case. And so this sadhana is an important thing to finalize the absorption. So that was talked about. And Sankirtanat, as we mentioned, was that you also get joy in doing so. So it is not like it's a torture or anything like that. In the beginning, every discipline has an element of some, torture is a very strong word, but it has an element of giving up some comfort and so on. But then it should convert into a joy of absorption where you love to be thinking about it, talking about it, learning it. That is Sankirtanat, as we saw already. And then finally the verse number 10 is the Phalashruti. So with that, let us do this. Let us appreciate the overall vision of Vedanta that Adi Shankara is trying to give it to us. overall vision, and has about 4 or 5 points that I was thinking of. And then after that, we will go into each of the verses individually and see what are the uniquenesses in each verse. This is what we will do. And I'll try to speed it up because it's already 8:12. So we have enough time. Okay, so the vision of myself that Vedanta is asking us to appreciate is that you are already the nature of Brahman. Or if you like the word Ishvara, you can use Ishvara. That Ishvara and Brahman are one and the same. Brahman is Nirguna Brahman and Ishvara is Saguna Brahman. So the word Ishvara means that the Maya Shakti is included in the definition of Ishvara. In Brahman, Maya Shakti is not necessary. I think it was in this class that I hope I presented to you a vision that Maya should be seen as a shadow of a person. Did I explain? Was it in this class? Did I explain that? Okay, nobody is saying yes, so that means either you forgot or I didn't do it. Anyway, this is a very beautiful explanation of the Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti can be explained in different ways, so many different ways. But this is a very beautiful way to explain the Maya Shakti. Okay? So Maya Shakti means it is like the shadow of a person. Shadow of a person. And the shadow of a person can be larger than the person. Because it can, if there is a kind of like a horizontal light, you can have a long shadow. Number one. Number two, it has some semblance of the person. Some semblance, but not really. Because you cannot identify a person by the shadow. You cannot, you see just like, I remember when I was telling you, when I was very young, I was also very sick with asthma. And there were no medicines at that time. You didn't have these sprays and so on and so forth that people have now. Oh my God, how I suffered. And so there was nothing else to do but just suffer through the asthma. But I was very fond of cricket. And in those days, the only thing that you could get, there was no television. There was not even a radio that would give. So there will be newspaper reports that there was a cricket match, test match between India and West Indies. And there were people like Vijay Hazare and Umrigar and all these people. So what I would do is, I would cut out the pictures of these and paste them on some kind of, my mother was telling me all this. And I got so good at it because I had nothing to do, I was just sick, that I would cover up their faces, only look at their ears, and I will ask my mom, okay, quiz me. Whose is this? And I would say, this is Umrigar's ear. She says, you are crazy. So kind of like that, you cannot see somebody's shadow and say, this is such and such a person's shadow. You can't say that. They all look alike. But there is some resemblance, not much. More importantly, this is a very important thing to see, really. The shadow is not completely different from a person. In fact, this is given in Viveka Chudamani. Bhinnam na. It is not completely different from the person. Because wherever the person goes, the shadow automatically follows. Neither it is abhinnam. It is not the same as the person. The Maya Shakti to the Ishvara. And by the way, the Maya Shakti to Ishvara is the same as ignorance Shakti to me. In fact, this will come up later on and when we discuss this. So this is an important thing to see, that really speaking, we should not look upon Maya Shakti as being something which is different from that Ishvara has done this to me. No. This comes up in verses number 2. It says, Atma Mula Karanam. I am the Karanam for I am the problem, I am the solution. So my power is to delude myself. And this happens when you go to sleep. When you are dreaming, your ability to give up your reality and indulge in some kind of an alternate reality is very important, very interesting. And same thing is happening here. This is really just an alternate reality. And I'm indulging in it. And it's my ability. Anyway, just to going back to this, that the difference between Brahman and Ishvara. So the Ishvara could be where you say Brahman and the shadow. Is it necessary to talk about the shadow? No. But the power of the creation of the whole world is through the Maya Shakti. So if you want to pray to Ishvara as someone who is important in my life, who is my creator, fine, that also is there. But really speaking, so the two are not that different. And it's just which way you're looking at it. So I think remember this. Either you're looking at the person without the shadow or you with the shadow. What difference does it make? Anyway, so that's the difference between Brahman and Ishvara. The Brahman is misspelled. It should be na, not na. It should be not the dental na, but the da, tha, da, da, na. So that's called Brahman. I wasn't careful in doing this. Okay, so so this is the vision of the Vedanta that Adi Shankara wants you to grasp. And I can go on and on, but in the interest of time, I will simply list it for you. Okay? And in some ways, I would say, and I think I covered this last week, okay? In some ways, I would say that understanding Sakshi as Sarvatma is not enough. But understanding the implication of Sakshi as a Sarvatma is really the main thing. And what does that mean? It means that you understand the Sakshi to be Nirvikaraha. And this is just a partial list, by the way, not a complete list. Nirvikaraha, Purnaha, Anantaha, Anandaswarupaha, Nityaha, Svatasiddhaha, Ajaha, Asangaha, Swaprakashaha, and Ekaha. Do you understand all of them? No. Maybe you do. I should just give you all the benefit. If you don't, then you have not yet understood Aishwarya. If you don't understand, if you don't immediately see that I was never born, I have always been a conscious entity. Immediately when you think of yourself as born on such and such day, etc., etc. But you don't You don't grasp, you don't understand that you are not born. You don't see your Purna, Ananda Swarupa, which is, every one of them is completely true. So anyway, Nirvikara, Purna, Nitya, Aja, Asangaha. Asangaha. So this Asangatvam is a very important thing, because we should see that really any of the issues with the body, any issues with emotions and so on and so forth, belong to the ahankara, not to the sakshi. And if you say, well, what is the difference between them? You have long ways to go. That viveka has to become very clear. The difference between a sakshi and a ahankara jiva. Anyway, so all of this will have to happen. This is the vision that Adi Shankara wants you to gain. That you are Nirvikara, Purna, Nitya, Ajaha, Asangaha, Swaprakasha, Eka, Ananda Swarupa, etc. There's a long list, even more so. This is number one. Number two, you are making a serious error by being ignorant of these facts. You're asleep to them. And in fact, a serious error in creating an alternate reality of mortality that you're struggling with. Serious error. Not true. So as in a dream, which is a dream, really speaking, Jagrat Avastha is just a modification of the dream, as we've been talking about in the Mandukya Upanishad. As in the dream, you are actually clinging to a false reality about yourself and about the world. This is the vision of Adi Shankara. And next point is, two more points. So you're covering up this, and the way it's happening is that you are covering up the reality about yourself with a false sense of mortality. It's like you don't appreciate the entire space, and that it is free. It can never be limited by the walls. But you're covering it for whatever reasons by clinging to a vision of the car space or a vision of the room space. And this is really a dreamlike situation. And here, the call of the mother, the very dear mother, who feels you're unnecessarily having a nightmare or close to it, and is trying to wake you up, is the call of the Shastra. Mother has nothing but love for you. He doesn't gain anything by waking you up. And in fact, and she would like you to, did I ever tell you, with my matriculation exam in Amritsar, and usually you had a couple of days, a day or so in between exams. But one time, right after one exam, the next exam was chemistry. No, I'm sorry, history. And I was so tired and so on and so forth. And I had not really studied much, so I told my grandma, my maternal grandma whose I was staying with, that listen, please, I am now, she says, okay, I'll give you dinner, and you keep on studying. You don't even have to come out of the room. I said, very good, thank you. And she took the dinner away. This was winter time. I had covered with all kind of rajai and so on and so forth. And I said, but please wake me up early in the morning, because if I go to sleep, I may not wake up. He says, okay, that's fine. I understand. Well, I think at about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, while I was still studying, I just fell asleep. So my Naniji came into the room and said, my God, this poor guy. She shut off the light and put the rajai on top of me, and I had a nice sleep. I wake up in the morning, it is like 7 o'clock. I have to be there by 8:30 or 9 or something. I was in such panic. And my Nanaji was saying, Beta, I know you were so tired. I thought that. I said, oh my God, this is not needed. I don't need your love. I need you to be tough with me. So I don't know, that vision just came back to me, but the Shruti is really like our mother and said, please, wake up. And then one last thing, what you find is that when you do wake up to a experience of immortality, that experience of immortality is not gained by you. It is understood by you that you are always immortal, but you covered it up with a false sense of mortality. So the immortality and the Purna, all these other things we talked about, Nirvikaratvam, Purnatvam, Nityatvam, Ajatvam, Asangatvam, etc., are already there in you. You say, my God, I didn't recognize it. I was sleeping, I was dreaming. This is the vision that Adi Shankara and Vedanta and Shastra is asking us to see. That being said, as an introduction, let us now look at least 3 verses and see how this vision is being put together, constructed. Well, there are some different aspects to it that we need to understand in order to complete the picture. It's kind of like, I've said that before sometimes, that our life is like a very complex 3-dimensional, what is it called? When you put together this, all of a sudden I'm blanking
Rubik's
out.
Cube.
Huh?
Rubik's Cube.
No, just the
puzzle?
The puzzle, just the different pieces of the puzzle, yeah. Jigsaw puzzle, yes, thank you, that's the word. So the life is really a complex, it's like a 2,000 pieces of 3-dimensional puzzle. I'm exaggerating, but it's complex. And so really what Shruti has to do is to help us, just like any mother's child also, it says, I don't know anything, I don't know how to do it. Mom and dad says, no, you can do it. Just look at this overall picture. Don't you see this is the tail of the horse and so on. So I don't know. Then you start to put some pieces together. So similarly, the verses are putting the pieces together to the jigsaw puzzle of life. And as they come together, I feel enthused. Yes. I tell you, it is a pleasure. No, pleasure is not the right word. It is just amazing. When I read all these books about Vedanta, they are all pointing out to the same thing. And you say, yes, this is consistent. Yes, I don't see any, at least I've been studying it for so long, and none of I don't have any questions. What is this saying? I don't understand this. No. It just gives me great fun to say, yes, exactly. There might be some aspects of the way things are. Like, for example, talking about Maya as a shadow. Somehow I never really heard that before. But it's very true. And so you always see different aspects of it, but in all of them it says, my goodness, this is the consistent view of the very beautiful. Anyway, so in the first verse, Vishwam Darpanadishyamana Nagari Dilyam, etc. I won't go into the details of each one of them. And here the definition by Swami Maheshanandaji is very, very telling, very insightful. Atma Pratyak Swarupa. We saw this all. If you go back to your notes, you will see this. This is the uniqueness of this verse. What does it mean? It means that you yourself, the reality of yourself is you are never manifest as an appearance that you can appreciate. And we only appreciate appearance, appearance means something concrete in front of me. It won't happen. It will never happen. And so therefore, you are fighting with your shadows, your reflections, your opinions about yourself, your conclusions about yourself, your thought processes about yourself are all false. Because all they are about are your reflections, not about you. So this is an important thing to see. Because deep down below this looks like, he's saying it, but I don't know. You have to see, convince your own mind. These are the facts. It cannot be. You're never manifest. It's Pratyak Swarupam. I mean, it's very obvious that really you cannot see your own face. Never. The only way you can see your face is through a reflection. From there you can get a good idea, but still a distorted idea. I mentioned this I think pretty much, this is a very interesting thing to see, really. I'm very grateful to Swami Maheshananji for pointing this out. When you look at your reflection, he says, be aware of the fact that the reflection does not completely reflect who you are. I mentioned this in the Mandukya class, I think. How? Because the reflection cannot show you your back. Your back is not reflected. You cannot say this is a complete picture of who I am. It is a partial picture at best. Distorted, partial picture. So similarly, your reflection as a jiva is a reflection. You, when you say me, this ahankara, which includes the body and the mind and prana and buddhi and the whole thing, this whole thing is a reflection of you, not you. And this reflection does not completely reflect who you are, because it does not tell you that you are nirvikara. It only says that you are aware, you are a thinker. That's it. That part is true. But that the thinker is nirvikaraha, purnaha, nityaha, ajaha, asangaha, etc., it doesn't show. So like a reflection which is not a complete copy of the bimba, pratibimba is not a complete copy of the bimba, that you should see. And so therefore, you're looking at yourself, you're looking at a partial picture of yourself. So it is not proper. So what it means is, stop. I think it's going to come more in the second verse than in the first one, but I can even mention this in the first word. That just stop blaming things. Either blame yourself, feeling sorry for yourself, unnecessary, because this is not you. Instead, look for yourself. Understand why your reflection is not you. Here's the way we have to really make progress. And also, by the way, the first verse, by the fact that it says that in a mirror, it looks like the picture is in the mirror, but it's not. It doesn't even touch the mirror. Supposing there is a reflection of a fire in the city, which is reflected in a mirror. The mirror is not hot. The fire doesn't singe it. So another thing verse number 1 points out is asangatva. Asangata. This is one view of jigsaw puzzle which is given in verse number 1. Anyway, this is the uniqueness of the verse number 1. Then let's go to verse number 2. Verse number 2, the title of that, as Swami Maheshanji has given, is Atma Mula Karanam. Mula Karanam. Mula Karanam means you are the original cause for your projection in the world. No one has created this except yourself. And Anandji, this is one of his favorite way of saying, you are the problem, you are the solution. Now I understand better what he was saying. At that point it just seemed like words to me, but I have a better appreciation of that. And one very key thing to this was the pointing out by Swami Maheshananji that do not blame the Maya Shakti of Ishvara for putting you in this problem. Because the Maya Shakti has been outsourced to you. I mentioned this before. I like this analogy. It's been outsourced to you. You are the one who is responsible for creating a vision of the world in your own image, and you are the one who has to correct it. Take responsibility. Don't blame anything. It's unnecessary. I can't do anything, the world is just... And if the world is not allowing you to do it, then you had it coming to you. You may have to go for another birth. Nothing can be done about it. So, Atma Mula Karana. And the best example of that is that of creating a dream. You are the one who is fully capable of both the Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. You're the one who is the material for the dream. You're the one who is the intelligence for the dream. You created it, you live in it, then you suffer, and then you come out of it. Exactly the same thing is true for in your life also. No difference whatsoever. So this is the uniqueness of this verse number 2. Let's go to verse number 3. Here, I have to share with you that out of all the verses of this stotram, the words that speak the most to me and the one that I live by as much as possible are these 3 words. Yasyas Puranam Sadatmakam. To me, it has made a big difference. Yasyas Puranam Sadatmakam. Okay, so even though here the title Atma Advaitam doesn't quite do justice to this aspect of it, as I understand it. It is true, but it encompasses a greater truth. But the one that really speaks to me is Yasyas Puranam Sadatmakam. Once I understood this and I'm living by it, it has made a ton of difference in my life. What it says is the following. It says, don't you see that you are a conscious entity? And this conscious entity never changes. Don't you see that? These words say that to me. Yasyas Puranam. Puranam means Jnanam, consciousness, knowledge, all the same. Consciousness, awareness. Yasya awareness. Whose awareness is Sadatmakam. It is the nature of isness. I can see that. And I can appreciate it at any point. My goodness, I am so busy in just saying, I am sick or I am not well or I am doing this, that or the other. None of that. Think about the fact that you as the conscious being is never different. Always the same. Don't you appreciate it? This is what the verse is saying. Amazing. Even when my experiences are different, I remain the same. As though I'm in kind of like, I'm sorry we didn't get enough time to wrap all of these verses in terms of a meditation that we could do. We have some limitation of time and so on. I'll tell you about that in a few minutes. But just meditate on this fact. Meditate on the fact that just like, for example, you are the very ocean of consciousness. Ocean of consciousness means there is no ocean also is limited, but consciousness is unlimited. Sarvatmatva. But the thing is that we are so busy in evaluating and putting ourselves in the form of a wave. We forget that, my goodness, yes, I am a wave, but that is very incidental. The intrinsic nature that I have is consciousness. Yasya sphuranam sadatmakam. And here, it also points out, so this is the pointing out of the Atma Advaitam. How is it Advaitam? It is Advaitam because appreciate that anything that you are thinking of, anything that you are seeing, anything that you are hearing is nothing but a form in your consciousness. Nothing can be there without your consciousness. And the form is not on the same level as the consciousness. It enjoys, it is not sadatmakam. Is it asatatma? In fact, this is what it says. Look at this verse now, very beautiful. Yasya eva sphuranam sadatmakam asatkalparthakam bhasate. Beautiful. Your consciousness is sadatmakam, and yet things in this appear to you as asat kalparthakam. That they are really, when you see something, they don't have the same status as your consciousness. They enjoy your consciousness. So when you say the table is, the isness of the table does not belong to the table, it belongs to you. You are the beingness, the isness. And the table is nothing but a form in it. So you are always isness. And the table can come and go, chair can come, walls can come, carpets can come, people can come. Those are all asat kalparthakam. But sadatmakam is only sphuranam. Beautiful, very important verses, at least to me. Speaks volume about it. I will talk about this again. And then the same fact now is, and I won't spend more time than this, except the fact that these are the three Shravanam, and then the fourth one is now beginning the Mananam. So Atma Satchit Rupam. And so when we were talking about, please see that this is table and this is people and so on and so forth, see the logic of it. It is the truth. We never saw the logic of it, so therefore we look upon table as, oh, the table is as real as I am, which is true. Your own ahankara and the table are on the same level, but you are at the sakshi level, higher level. And so this has to be understood with logic. And so that phase of the Mananam has now started with verse number 4 and will continue with number 5 and 6, and which we will see next time. So let me say a prayer and then also tell you about some of the changes that I think are happening, so we can talk about that. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Maybe we can shut this off, then we can just talk about, let's do that. So after